In today's episode, I'm talking about collecting. You saw in my last episode, I talked about collecting prop movie guns and that kind of stuff. Well, this is my replica knife and sword collection. Let's get started. Hey guys, Rob here. Welcome to the show. Glad to see you guys. If you saw in the opening trailer, today I'm talking about collecting swords and knives or replicas of swords and knives. I've always been kind of a fan of it. Now, if you saw in last episode, I was talking about my prop movie guns and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of what I would call my favorite knives, and basically talk to you about, what movie they're from and what inspired me or why I decided to get this thing. And we'll try to make this kind of a fast video because I know the last one that I did was kind of lengthy, so I want to kind of shorten it down a little bit, but I just wanted to show you some of my favorite ones. So let me bring out the first one. We'll go from there. Okay guys, so here's the first one that I wanted to show you. This is from the movie Blade. This happens to be a scabbard and then of course his sword. Now the one thing I like about this sword is what they call full tang. It goes all the way down into the hilt. This is actually done by, which is really cool, this was done by a company called Factory X. And you can kind of see it, sort of. Let me see if I can get it close enough. Maybe. There you go. So, it was done by a company called Factory X. This actually, when I got this blade, this was the very last sword that Factory X had made. But they had made all the weapons for actually the Blade movie. Now, of course, unfortunately, I've seen many different styles of this. In fact, there's ones with actually a little hidden blade up here in the corner. Those, unfortunately, all I can tell people is they're junk. This is an original Factory X blade. These things are real cool. The reason I like it is because it kind of reminds me of a samurai type of sword, which is one of my favorite type of swords to collect. But I also just could not believe on how lethal this tip was in the end. So this is why I collected this one. So let me show you the next one. Okay guys, here's my next one. This one is actually from the movie Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. This is what they call the Hero Athens sword. This sucker is basically, it weighs probably close to about 2 or 3 pounds. It's a replica. This is not one of the originals because actually one of the originals goes for anywhere between $2,000, $3,000. But it still has the same weight. It actually still has, if I can hold it, it actually has all the details that the original one has. Leather grip, same kind of skulls and everything like that. The only reason I like this is because, well, it was Conan's sword, and who doesn't like Conan? So that's why I collected this one. I'll show you the next one. So here's my next one. This is called the Samurai 3000. Now, this technically was not in a movie. This was made as a fantasy blade, and technically, which was really funny about it, it's supposed to be like a lightsaber. It actually, this blade were to light up, and then it would actually have energy on it, And the hilt there actually has switches and stuff on it that you can actually use to turn it on. But this thing is just a metal handle is all it is. So nothing too special about this. But one of the funniest things that I found out down the road is that when I got this sword, I was just like, dude, this thing is so cool looking and whatever. Later on down the road, it actually popped up in this movie. And if you look real close, you can see that this guy right here actually has the sword on his back. So the movie Paul, this showed up in the movie, and I was like, hey, I have that sword. So that's why I like to keep it now, because of that kind of funny little reference. But yeah, that's why I have this sword, is just because it looked really cool. And the tip on it was also extremely lethal as well. So let me show you the next one. Okay, so this next knife, this is actually from the movie Cobra with Sylvester Stallone in it. Now, good movie, and the main bad guy had this knife. Now his blade, just so you know, this one's a little bit different. Doesn't have the axe handle blade or the blade like this. His was actually a little bit longer, but he still had the same grip and the same spikes coming out of there. And those spikes do not detach. So anytime I've always told people, if whenever you hold this knife, the sooner that you decide to disrespect this knife is when it actually kills you or hurts you. Because the spikes are super sharp and the blade is razor sharp. So, but the reason I like this is because, one, from my favorite movie, and two, I mean, just look at it. This thing is just crazy looking. So, super shiny and just super cool looking. So, let me show you the next one. Okay, guys. So here's the next one, or should I say the next two. I decided to do this since we're talking about Sly, might as well talk about Rambo. So Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Rambo Part 3. These knives, I just freaking love them because they are just really cool looking. 3 is probably my favorite just because it's a Bowie knife. And it's ridiculously big, and nice. I mean, it's got good weight to it, so on and so forth. In fact, when I bought this, it just came in the box, just with the blade, and then I had to buy the sheath for it separate. But they were able to get it for me, which was awesome. But the one thing I like about this knife, this was actually from the Signature series. So it's got Sylvester Stallone on it. It's 8,152 out of 10,000. But the knife is razor sharp. And everything in it is fully functional. So it's got the compass in it. And then it's also got all of the other little things, fishing wire, matches, all that stuff inside. So it's kind of cool that they went into that much detail with this knife. But, yeah. Oops. There we go. But anyway, so, yeah. So there's that knife, or I should say those two knives. So let me take it on to the next one. Now these next knives, I do love these knives. Sorry, I did that on purpose actually. But this comes from the movie Chronicles of Riddick. These are the blades that he actually, these aren't like the real ones, these are replicas of the ones that he had in that movie. But these things are super sharp,
But the only thing that makes me laugh about these is it's not exactly practical to really use a blade like this, and you know, stabbing wise or slashing upwards. But you know, when Riddick uses them, I mean, how can you go wrong? But that's why I liked them, is because they were from an absolute cool franchise and they just looked cool. So on to the next one. Alright, so here's the next one, and you're going, gosh, all the other ones were really, really big. What happened to this one? Well, this one is a small little blade, but it's really cool. If you look at it, it kind of looks familiar, but this is actually a swing blade. So the more you look at it, you kind of go, wow, what movie was that from? Well, this was from the movie The Dark Knight. Yep, Heath Ledger. This was actually the Joker knife. Now his was more of a switchblade. In fact, they actually put the detail on here, right here, which was he would push this up and the blade would come up through this slide. But this is just a swing blade because, of course, they can't really make a knife like that. So yeah. But I like that one just because it was the Joker. And Heath Ledger did such a good job in that movie. So that's why I like that knife. So I have one more for you guys. And this one I was saving for last just because it's really cool. So let me go grab it. I'll be right back. Okay guys, last but not least, here's my last knife. Now you're going, that's not a knife, that's like 5 knives. And some of you people are looking at this going, what is that? I have no idea what this is. Well, some people that grew up in the 80s would probably know what this is. This is actually called a clave. This was actually in a movie called Crawl. If you ever get a chance to watch this movie, I highly recommend it. If you like sci-fi fantasy, this movie is awesome. But if you kind of look closely, you can see he is holding it in his hand. And yeah. And in fact, even in the name Crawl, it's such a cool movie. But the reason I like this thing is because it was in a really good movie, and it looks really cool when you spin it. Now, the other thing that's awesome is this was built by a guy. These blades actually pop off, so they're not on there permanently. I wish it was like the one in the movie where you would push the center jewel and the blades would and pop out. But you can pick it up, and it's the same on both sides. So, and the detail is remarkable. And the blades are kind of sharp, especially on the points. But yeah. So there you guys go. That is my favorite sword and knife collection. So I hope you guys like this video. If you do, hit that like button for me, because it always does help. And if you're liking what I'm doing and you're liking the show, hit that subscribe button down in the bottom. It should be somewhere over here, maybe over here, or maybe along the top. But if you hit that subscribe button, it will make sure that you see more content of what I'm showing to you guys. But other than that, guys, I hope you like the show, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.